While on vacation at a remote cabin in the woods, a young girl and her adopted fathers encounter 4 people who take them hostage, demanding that they make an impossible choice of a sacrifice to stave off the apocalypse. While the family struggles to escape and has limited contact with the outside world, their beliefs are tested in an unthinkable manner. Wes and Alexis give their take on what is widely considered to be writer-director M. Night Shyamalan's best film in years in Knock at the Cabin on View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View the Right Thing. We're finally doing this new thing. We're doing theatrical films, and with that comes a new co-host. Our former guest, now co-host, Alexis Martino. Hi, Alexis.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm super very happy to be here.
Oh, well, I'm happy to have you here. I'm excited that we're doing this.
Me too.
So the last time we saw you was for Scrooge the Musical. What's been going on since then?
Life's been great. I am just keeping myself busy and trying to stay as healthy as possible.
Yay, healthy.
Yay.
Yeah, I feel that. I was worried. Yeah. I just, I went to Chicago and I was worried I was going to get sick while I was there between having to fly on a plane with a bunch of strangers. And
yeah,
it's so cold in Chicago. I don't understand why people live in Chicago. I don't get it.
100%. I was back in Chicago for Christmas to see my mom, and with wind chill, it was negative 40 degrees.
Gross.
I don't think it was gross.
Quite that bad when we were there, but it snowed the whole time we were there.
Oh, yeah. Chicago. I broke up with winter when I moved out here.
Yeah. You're not missing out.
Mm-mm.
Well, so we got this new thing we're doing where we're going to do every other week. We're doing theatrical films, and that's your big job on this podcast now with me. And then the off weeks that we're not doing that, Beat and I will be doing our regular podcast thing. Maybe every once in a while you'll go, hey, I really want to do that episode with you and Beat. And maybe sometimes Beat will say, hey, I want to do that episode with you and Alexis. And we'll have 3 people. Actually, we'll have multiple people for the Oscar episode.
Oh, that's so exciting.
So, well, I just to kind of tease this, that you're the only person that's ever beaten me in the Oscar episode contest.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
I think you beat me by like 2 points. And you're the only one. And so I'm coming for your head. So be ready.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's before we get into the movie, we're gonna do this thing. We're going back to trailers, and we're gonna talk trailers. We're gonna cover each trailer that we saw and talk about that briefly because there were so many freaking trailers.
Ridiculous.
There were 10 trailers. 10.
I thought surely there wouldn't be another one after each.
Well, we got like a Red Band trailer at some point, and I was like, surely this is the last one, and then there was another one after that. So I don't know. Okay, so first one we got The Boogeyman, new horror film, only PG-13. I was a little surprised with the content. What'd you think of The Boogeyman? Is that one that's like on your list now, or?
I have a hard time with scary movies because. Honestly, that one reminded me so much of Poltergeist. Okay. And I accidentally, on purpose, watched part of that movie when I was like 8. Okay. And I had a bed that was at in front of a small walk-in closet, and I thought that I thought like evil spirits were going to pull me through my closet and I would get stuck in the TV. That movie, The Boogeyman, looks super scary.
Yeah, no, I mean, for anybody that has like childhood trauma like that, I imagine it's probably pretty.
Yeah, I used to jump in my bed. I would jump into my bed for years and years, like probably until I was 16 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, things stuck under your bed, that just creeped me out. So I have resorted to using under my bed as storage so that no one could possibly be under there.
Now, am I crazy, or does the little girl commit a cardinal sin of being a child afraid of what's in the dark? And she, when she thinks something has crawled under her bed, she leans over and looks underneath.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're
Why
supposed
would
to
you
just
do that?
make sure your limbs aren't hanging over the edge.
Yeah.
You put the covers over your head, and you just...
Make sure your toes aren't sticking out
Yeah.
from under your blanket. Yeah.
If that little girl ends up dying in the movie, she's asking for it. 'Cause she's flirting with disaster.
In the rules of Scary Movie, yeah.
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 So so this isn't one that's like, hey, we got to go do this for the podcast. You're not itching to do the Boogeyman.
I mean, if there were, like, if you really wanted to see it, as long as I see it during the day, I think I'm okay.
Okay.
Also, I'm an adult now, so maybe I'll be okay.
Maybe.
I think just from how much scary movies traumatized me as a child, I think I'm like, well, maybe I'll be just as scared now, but maybe I won't.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Next up, we got The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal. And I was really surprised. It's directed by Guy Ritchie, which makes me skeptical of the movie. I love Guy Ritchie, but whenever he ventures away from the gangster thing, like, the movies don't usually end up being all that great.
Yeah.
So this is a soldier who gets concussed and knocked out, but rescued by their interpreter.
Yes.
In the Middle East. And then the interpreter ends up having to go into hiding, and so Jake Gyllenhaal feels the need to go and rescue him, I guess. Like a life debt kind of a thing. What'd you think of that one?
I felt like they gave everything away in the preview, and I'm wondering, like, what else needs to be seen.
I suspect because it's Guy Ritchie and it's like not in his normal purview, I think it's going to be lots of action, and the whole reason to see it is just because you want to see a bunch of action.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You know, like, the plot is what it is, like, kind of wears itself on its sleeve.
Yeah. Cinematically, it looked beautiful.
Sure.
From what I saw.
I do like the I don't know where they are, so I'm not going to say, like, what nationality the people are, but I did like the Middle Eastern man as a hero in this scenario.
Totally.
Because I feel like that's overlooked a lot. So that has me interested in seeing the film.
Yeah.
Like they said the actor's name, and I was like, I have no idea who this guy is, but, like, good for him.
Right?
So.
I think he seemed very captivating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've never heard of him. He very well could be well known where he is from. I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, for all I know, I've seen him in a bunch of things here, but I don't know. He could be on a bunch of TV shows for all I know. But I didn't recognize him or his name.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we got Mafia Mama with Toni Collette. What did you think of that one?
It looks so dumb, but in, like, a funny, dumb way.
Yeah. I think it looks really funny.
Yeah. I found myself cracking up at the previews.
But let me say this.
Yes.
Awful name. Awful title.
Absolutely.
It makes you go, I don't want to see it. That sounds like a movie I don't want to see. Mafia Mama. That's like a stop where my mom will shoot kind of a thing.
Yeah. The name was kind of lame.
So the premise for I didn't give the premise for Boogeyman because you can just probably infer what the Boogeyman is about. But so Mafia Mama is about Toni Collette is this American woman whose Italian grandfather dies. They're like, you have to come for the funeral. So she goes out, and it turns out he was a mafia boss. And in his, like, video will, he says that he wants her to become the new Dawn. And so the head of the crime family. And so it's hilarity ensues. She's
so ridiculous.
She's like a super, like, it's a fish out of water is basically what it is.
Yeah.
Like a non-confrontational, like, I think she bakes muffins for one of the sit-downs.
Yes, it's so ridiculous. I think it's probably going to be really funny.
Yeah. I'd
I
watch
hope
it.
it'll be funny.
I'd watch it. I don't know if we need to do it for the podcast. I'd watch it though for sure.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see where it falls. Some of this is just going to be, what falls on the weeks that we're supposed to do the podcast. One of those movies is coming up here shortly in our list. But,
Yes.
all right. The next one was 65 with Adam Driver. What'd you think? Is that?
Honestly, I wanted more from the preview.
Yeah. You think they showed too little?
I guess, but maybe that's good because I want to know more about it.
Sure.
So maybe they did a good thing by leaving me wanting more.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, it's about a spaceman, a guy flying a spaceship with people as cargo. They're in like cryo sleep, and I think he gets hit by some asteroids or something and crash lands on a planet. And it turns out that the planet is maybe Earth, and there's dinosaurs, and it takes place 65 million years ago. Maybe he time travels. I don't know.
Ooh.
Or maybe he's from that era, not from Earth. Maybe he's not a human per se. He's from some other galaxy, and
Ooh.
they're just way more advanced. 65 million years ago, they were way more advanced than we are now. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in the movie.
That sounds like a really cool one.
Yeah, I Adam Driver fighting dinosaurs, like that's all you kind of need to know. I feel like
Yes.
And the effects looked like on par with Jurassic Park, so I'm happy. I'm happy with that.
I agree.
I think it comes out soon, so I don't think it's going to end up on the podcast, but it's one I do want to see.
Yeah.
All right, next up, this is where I thought they were going to stop, was when Liam Neeson came on screen and was like, "Thank you for coming to the movies." Like they were doing that thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is the end of the trailers, and now we're going to get to see the movie." Not the case. He introduced a trailer for a movie that I was actually kind of hoping was originally it was supposed to come out this weekend, and it was going to be one of the movie that I pitched to you that we go see, but then they pushed the date back. And this movie is called Marlowe. It's about the character Philip Marlowe, like noir 1930s detective.
Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
I think that one looks fun.
Yeah. I like a good old school detective film noir kind of film.
Oh yeah.
And I like Liam Neeson. I mean, he's just fun to watch, and he grumbles and growls, and he's charming.
Yeah, it has a really great cast.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so then we got Evil Dead Rise, which I think we've done Evil Dead on the podcast. Yeah, we did. We did Evil Dead with Beat and I did it.
Nice.
In October. So this isn't really exactly connected to the old films so much. It's not the same characters. It's new characters. Very modern take on it. I'm really excited for it. What did you think of this trailer?
Was that the one with the red at the beginning?
With the what?
The red at the beginning.
The red.
The red screen.
No. Oh no, we did not get. So I've seen the Red Band trailer for this. Oh man, it is the Red Band trailer is gross.
Oh no.
This is the one with the mom that gets possessed, and she's like, "Mommy's with the maggots now."
Oh yeah. Oh, that looks really gnarly. But also well done, but also so creepy.
Yeah, so
like this whole family gets possessed.
Yeah.
And how?
Oh man, I'm very excited for it. It's gonna be very gross though. I mean, that's kind of a hallmark of the Evil Dead franchises, that they're pretty bloody. But this the Red Band trailer. What do I say without giving? So, at one point, a large chunk of someone's scalp plops down on the ground. Like
Wow.
this movie is gonna be
God.
gross.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a great tagline on the poster for it, which is "Mommy's gonna love you to death," which I think is pretty clever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty clever.
Ooh.
All right. Next up, this is one I would like to do for the podcast if I could talk you into it.
Okay.
Scream 6.
Right.
That's
right.
I don't feel like I need to. Do I need to give a? It's Ghostface chasing mostly women around and murdering people.
Yep.
But in New York City.
I know.
But that's the part that's got me the most excited is this big change of location.
And is it entirely new characters? Because I saw
No.
Courtney Cox,
No.
but like I did not see Nev Campbell.
No, Nev Campbell didn't come back famously. Okay, so here's the deal with it is they lowballed her on the pay, and she said, if you're not going to pay me what, she's like, I have been this franchise for 5 films, so you're either going to pay me what I'm worth or I'm not coming back. And they're like, we'll call your bluff. And so she didn't come back.
Wow. Good for her.
Yeah, and all the other people were like, yeah, she built this franchise and they should pay her what she's worth. I don't blame her. No, it's got Courtney Cox is coming back. Hayden Panettiere, who's in one of the earlier films. I think she's in 4. And then the sort of who they kind of like purport as like the main character of this one, and Jenna Ortega, they're sisters in Scream 5.
Yeah.
They're back from Scream 5. And one of the other girls from Scream 5 is in it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so
I would go see it.
you're like reluctantly.
No, I'll go see it. I've seen the first 3, so I haven't seen 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I don't know is it necessary? I mean, I can go and watch the others.
I mean, if you want to know about Hayden Panettiere's character, and I didn't love 4, but I did like 5. I thought 5 was pretty fun. It telegraphs a little too much, but there is kind of a cool like reveal in it. That's really fun. But I think it's a little predictable.
Okay.
5 is, but I don't know if that's really the thing that's the most important in those films.
Yeah. I mean, basically there's a maniac out there killing people behind a mask.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go see it.
All right. Yay.
I've decided.
Next, we got Oppenheimer, which is the story of the guy who created the atomic bomb. Content. Well, first, I'll ask you what you thought of this before I give my.
I don't remember a ton about that preview for some reason.
It's Cillian Murphy, and it's a lot of fire.
That's a lot of fire.
Yeah.
And it keeps going back and forth between like young Cillian Murphy and very old Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting.
So it's Christopher Nolan, who makes generally makes films that are pretty high quality.
Yeah.
He shot some of it on IMAX, which is always kind of fun. I think it looks good. I'll be honest, I don't really care that much about the story. Like, I don't know that I'm like, oh, I really want to see a movie about Alan Oppenheimer. But, Alan, right? Alan Oppenheimer? Yeah, that's right.
I think so.
But the fact that Christopher Nolan made it, it's got Cillian Murphy in it. Josh Peck in it. I like Josh Peck. So, we can maybe put on that's a tough month because there's a bunch of it's July. And there's like a new Indiana Jones coming out. There's a Marvel film out, and a few other like pretty big, fun things. So it's going to be
wow.
We'll see what ends up making it to the podcast.
Yeah, a lot
Jones
coming out.
Indiana Jones is probably making it out.
Oh, by the way, it's J. Robert Oppenheimer. Alan Oppenheimer is an actor.
Oh, Alan Oppenheimer is the guy that did like Skeletor. Yeah, I'll get you, He-Man. Whoops. Well, at least Alan Oppenheimer was a real person.
Yes.
He wasn't just completely making things up. Well, oh well. Okay, next was our Red Band trailer. And I am pretty excited for this film. It's called Renfield. Famously, Renfield is the Dracula's like lackey in the books, who eats bugs and whatnot. And I think they're doing something kind of fun with this character, giving it a little bit of a twist.
Yeah.
Plus, Nicolas Cage is playing Dracula.
Oh, I'm actually really excited.
Yeah. And Aquafina's
because
in
it seemed, I know, Aquafina. It just does. It seems like it has a really great cast, and it seems funny.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, to make Dracula funny and grotesque at the same time.
Yeah,
that's kind of my sweet spot. If it's grotesque and funny, I'm cool.
Yeah. Okay, noted.
Like, it adds some levity, so I'm like, oh great, it's not as heavy.
Well, that's why you want to see the next movie, the next trailer we got, which was Cocaine Bear.
Yes.
Because it's probably going to be kind of grotesque, but also very funny.
Yes.
I get another one that I don't think is going to make it onto the podcast, but we can just say, hey, did you see Cocaine Bear yet? And then when we both have said yes, then we can do a quick, like, whether we liked it or not. We can talk about it.
Totally. Yes. I'm excited that it's directed by Elizabeth Banks, so it's going to be funny.
Yep.
For sure. And since it's based off of a true story, and people died, and as did the bear.
Oh, poor bear.
Oh, that poor bear. But it just seems so ridiculous. The fact that something like that actually happened.
Yeah.
Where did it happen? I don't remember. I
think they mentioned in the trailer we saw, because it was a different trailer than the one I've seen before. But we should Georgia. We shouldn't look too much up. We shouldn't.
Okay, good.
So here's what I'm thinking. Like, or at least for me, I don't want to know how fake this movie is going into it. Do you know what I mean? Like how made up it is. I kind of want to go in thinking the whole thing is real.
Oh yeah.
Even though I know it's not. Yeah. So we'll talk about that once we both see it.
Okay. Great. I actually really enjoy seeing movies without knowing anything about them, because then I'm just going into it fresh.
Yeah. I like to take Dizzy into movies blind, but every once in a while when I do that, it's like very, very emotional, and then she's, maybe caught a little off guard, and then I've got a sobbing wife in the theater.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm sorry I did this to you. But at least I know she is moved by the films.
Yes. She has feelings.
So this wasn't a trailer, but something happened in this theater that I thought was very funny. The Nicole Kidman AMC thing came on. We saw this at an AMC theater. Hashtag not an ad. And people applauded the Nicole Kidman thing when it was done. And I was like, wait, what?
So weird.
What?
Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah. I didn't really know what to do with it. I laughed. It was funny.
She was very, very fanciful. She was so overdressed for an AMC movie. Mm-hmm. She's just like sitting in the theater in her sparkly jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting.
SNL did a good parody of that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now I finally have now I know. Now I get it. When I saw that before, I haven't been to an AMC theater in a long time.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah.
That was a weird part of the movie. Sitting in the audience.
Yeah. I think I saw that AMC announced that they're keeping her as their spokesperson for another year.
Oh.
Because it got such a positive reaction from people.
Well, good for them. That's great.
Good for them. Good for AMC. Good for Nicole Kidman. More money in her pocket.
Exactly. Right.
Okay. Let's talk about this movie. We saw... Are you ready to talk about it? Are you good?
I'm totally ready. Let's do it.
We saw Knock at the Cabin, based on a book called The Cabin at the End of the World. It's directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Here's the plot, the short IMDb plot synopsis. While vacationing, a girl and her parents are taken hostage by armed strangers who demand that the family make a choice to avert the apocalypse. Now, before we get into it, I'm going to say this now. I'm going to say it very clearly. There will be spoilers. If you do not want to be spoiled, which I recommend not being spoiled, save the podcast. Watch the movie first, then come back to the podcast. We don't mind. It's all good. But there are going to be spoilers, so be aware. All right. So the first question, as always, Alexis, did you enjoy this movie?
It was a good movie.
You did not. That is the least convincing thing I've ever heard on this podcast.
Oh, man. I'm a horrible liar. I really am.
Will it help if I give my...
Go ahead.
This movie was average. It was not great. It was not terrible. This is somewhere, in between good and bad. It's fine. But I wanted more out of the movie.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's average. I think I looked up when I got home what the Rotten Tomatoes score on it was because I was curious, and it's like 69, which means it's fine. It's a fine movie. It's not bad. It's not rotten, but it's not, it's not gonna rock your world in any way, I don't think.
Yeah, I will agree with that. It was fine. I think the acting was good.
Yeah.
The storyline was a little wishy-washy for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little wishy-washy. And I think I just kind of kept expecting some twist or some bigger, chess piece move or something to happen, and it just never came.
Yeah.
So basically, to just jump into the spoilery thing, sorry, Des, if you can hear me, the plot is that these 4 strangers show up at the cabin where they're vacationing and basically tell them that they're going to basically hold them hostage, and they're going to ask them to make a choice, and the choice is to kill one member of their family, or else the apocalypse is going to happen. And they're going to be asked multiple times, and every time they get asked, if they say no, it will cause one step of the apocalypse to start. It's weird because in a lot of ways, I love M. Night Shyamalan. I like his sensibility. They started this thing with an old school Universal logo, which is kind of telling for, I think they wanted this to kind of feel like an older style film, not in content, but just the way that was paced and stuff.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of things, he did a lot of it, right off the bat, extreme close-ups of faces with canted angles. So, things are askew, nothing is what it's supposed to be, which is very kind of old school Hitchcocky kind of a thing. But it just kind of is blah, this is what this is. And I never really questioned it too much. I mean, did you bounce back and forth with whether or not you thought it was really happening or not?
There was a moment where I was like, well, maybe they are just crazy people.
Yeah.
Who met on a message board, and maybe they're the ones that owned the cabin, and they were just setting this all up for their sick fantasy.
Yeah. You know what kept me from buying into that too much? The what's his name? Daddy Andrew? Was it Andrew was his name?
The one who's really British?
Yeah,
I swear he's really
the one,
I was like, that guy is not American.
The one quick to anger. Yeah, not the Jonathan
Yes.
Not Jonathan Groff.
Yes.
It was too easy to dismiss the stuff that he was saying, and that this was a setup, and that they were being targeted and stuff, because the guy who was setting them up immediately dies in the film. right?
Right.
Like the guy who would have been setting them up, like why would he just kill himself? Like he would get no pleasure and no reward in targeting them. So it's just
True.
like, I don't know, like immediately I was like, well, it can't be that. I think maybe like you, I think right around when they talked about the earthquakes and that it happened 4 hours prior and the guy kept looking at his watch, I was like, oh, well, maybe he has a point. But then I thought about, oh, well, the other dude's dead, so why would he kill himself?
Right.
So
And like during that, was it like an 8.2 earthquake occurred off the coast of Washington or something?
yeah, coincidentally.
And that had like just happened. They couldn't have planned that.
Yeah. I do want to address something that I did not like in that. When they're showing, like, it's like Arcadia, Oregon or whatever, like where they shot the Goonies, basically. You know, they have the big rocks there. So in the film, for the listeners, and to remind anybody who's watched this recently, so they say no, they kill one of the characters, and then they turn on the TV and they see that in Hawaii there's been this earthquake that's causing a tsunami. I need, of course, this is the best time for this to happen. I need 1 second, Alexis. Vamp for me, Alexis.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the 7 knocks on the door, because I'd really like to discuss that. At the beginning, when the 4 people who come to the cabin, they knock 7 times, and I'm like, that's so weird. I'm a person who does like 3 knocks or 5. And I was like, why are they knocking 7 times? Interesting. Oh yeah, it must have to do with the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
What could that possibly mean? And I looked it up.
Okay, I'm glad I'm back for this. Okay, tell me
Great.
about this.
I looked up what the 7 is significant for, and it's like the 7 trumpets of Revelation.
Yeah.
So like each trumpet means a different thing. The first is about hail and fire mixed with blood, and then there's the second trumpet is something like a huge mountain ablaze thrown into the sea. So it definitely talks about the different aspect of what was occurring in the movie. So that was interesting. So
I'm glad
it has to do with Revelations.
I'm glad you picked up on that. I didn't pick up on the number 7, but I do remember going, he knocked an awful lot of times.
Right.
But I didn't think to count it, you know? So I'm glad you did.
Yes.
Okay, so the earthquake happens in Hawaii. There's like a small tsunami, and then there's a question about whether or not this is going on for real. And then there's another earthquake, and then there's the tsunami that's much bigger in Oregon. Mm-hmm. And this is what I had a problem with. They're like, this is footage that captured it live as it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now presumably this literally has just happened.
Yeah.
And somebody's on the beach, and the tsunami comes, and it washes them away. How did they get the footage? If this just happened,
I'm wondering if it was like someone had an Instagram live or
but see, they didn't
something.
say that. Like,
I know.
Like, that's the thing. Is like that would have been such an easy thing to say. You know, that somebody was live streaming, you know, their day at the beach or whatever. That would have been an easy bit of dialogue to say, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay. I don't know.
They left something out. That was a little.
And this is the problem with M. Night Shyamalan. As much as I love him, like for a long time I was a big M. Night Shyamalan apologist. And then The Happening happened, and I just couldn't excuse him anymore. But like he gets these ideas of something that would be cool, and he just tries to shoehorn them in, and it doesn't give them a reason to be there. You know, like we didn't even need to see that. We didn't even need to see firsthand footage. We could have seen aerial footage from a news helicopter or something.
Yes.
That had been in the area for whatever reason. You know, it was like this reason to show big waves. I don't know. It just
Felt like it was a reason to show all of the bodies in the water.
Yeah, style over substance.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is where he gets in trouble. Also, prior to this, we did get to see M. Night Shyamalan in his traditional cameo, which is funny. I saw you point at the screen. You were like, hey!
Yeah. He's in the infomercial.
Yeah.
Does he do that often?
He's always in his movies, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember if he's in Wide Awake, but he's in the other ones. And
is he in Sixth Sense?
Yeah. He is in The Sixth Sense. He is. Oh, this is going to eat at me. I'm going to look it up. M. Night cameo, Sixth Sense. He's a doctor that treats the kid.
Oh,
he
my
goes to the
gosh.
hospital, and you know the whole like I see dead people like conversation in the hospital. So he's the pediatrician who treats him, and then in Unbreakable, he's the drug dealer at the football game, in the football stadium that Bruce Willis bumps into and gets the vision.
Oh, that's wild.
And then in The Village, have you seen The Village?
Yes.
Spoilers for The Village. The girl, the blind girl, gets out of the village and encounters the forest ranger.
Mm-hmm.
He's the forest ranger.
Oh my God.
And then he's just flat out in Lady in the Water. He's just flat out one of the apartment tenants. Like he's like he's a major role in that movie.
Wow.
So yeah, he's always like somewhere in his films.
Clever. That's very Hitchcockian of him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's got a big thing with Hitchcock. He does these like skewed camera angles. He's really big on reflection. We didn't get a ton of reflection in this movie, except for they used it to show like lighting, and like puddles of water at the end had some like reflection stuff. But usually he's a little bit more blatant about reflection, like in what's that movie? Signs, the movie about the aliens. Like he like shoots stuff off of like glassware and off of like turned off TV sets and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's a sort of a staple of his. But yeah.
Wait, wasn't there reflection when Jonathan Groff was getting his head mended by the nurse?
Yeah. Yeah. He shoots in glass all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was just something I noticed.
No, that's
or
good.
Remembered.
It's a good observation. But yeah, that's like a director trademark is using reflections and cameos for himself.
Okay. Cool.
So, one of the themes I actually really liked in this was the theme of the trapped grasshoppers. I wish I had thought to count how many grasshoppers they had caught. Like I wasn't sure. Like, is it gonna be? Was it 7? I mean, again, we had 7 people, right? So. I
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so I sort of wonder if it was 7 grasshoppers because she had them labeled out,
and she listed what their characteristics were.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
go
ahead.
That also makes me think of one of the things in Revelations is the locusts.
Yeah, well, so I thought that was going to be a thing. So I had actually written down a couple things that I noticed about the environment, and one was the grasshoppers. So, like in the morning, the grasshoppers were all on the window and stuff, and I was like, well, that's maybe a portent of things to come, right? Like,
right.
Like, oh, this is an omen. There were also buoys hanging from things, and I thought, okay, well, that's a reference to the tsunami stuff, and the grasshoppers, maybe that's gonna be a reference to. But then, like when he said what all the plagues were gonna be, like the sky falling and glass falling from the sky and things lighting on fire and all that, I couldn't find anything I was looking for it. And I was like trying really hard to see if this was a thing M. Night Shyamalan had done to set up, but I couldn't find anything in there for that or the lightning. I couldn't find anything for the lightning either. So it turns out a fruitless endeavor. But
yeah. Well, I mean, the lightning is what started the fires.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that started fires, and then but I mean, like, there was no sort of like. So what I was sort of thinking was that maybe he's putting all of these things subtly in the film before they happen, like to show that like the signs are there. They're just not looking for them. Being the grasshoppers and the buoys. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that theory I had wasn't right. Like he didn't take the time to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it would have been cool if he was going to reference Revelation, like go all for it.
Yeah, just
like
whole hog.
You be as on the nose as possible.
Yeah, that might have been a more interesting movie if there was like more puzzle pieces for us to find. I think it might have been more. But again, it was sort of like, this is just kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
And the question is whether they're going to buy into it or not.
Right.
And
I wish, sorry, I'm
no, that's fine.
I'm jumping for a moment, but I wish there was more explanation as to why each of the four horsemen, why they had the weapons they had. There wasn't really an explanation about it.
I agree. Well, I guess like, I'm not sure because I don't remember exactly what everybody had on their things, but like, the Rupert Grint's weapon, and when they said malice and they showed it, I was like, oh, okay, that weapon seems like it makes sense. It had like a meat tenderizer on the end of it and stuff. It felt very like, I don't know, in some ways like aggressive. Whereas like Dave Bautista's seemed more like a tool. They referred to them as tools, but his had like a pitchfork or something on the end of it. Literally a tool, not a, I don't know. I guess a meat tenderizer is a tool in its own way too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Pitchfork for some reason to me doesn't feel as.
Yeah, it was a pitchfork with a blade on the side of it.
Yeah,
like
but it wasn't
like things.
Yeah, it was like a weird blade though. It wasn't like an axe,
No, yeah.
It was definitely something kind of cobbled together. But I did like the reveal that they were essentially the horsemen. And I liked that they all wore clothing that represented which horsemen they were, right? Like Rupert Grint wore red, which is like an angry sort of violent color, and he's like the malice. And then the nurse wore like yellow, which is like nurturing and stuff. Not nurturing, healing. And then the other woman who was like the nurturer wore blue. And then he wasn't not a teacher. He was he was a teacher, but I mean his horseman role was not education, but I mean that's not a thing. But well, anyways, he was white, which fit for his character. So I liked that they used color theory for their.
I agree.
Oh, and I don't know if you noticed, but the again, spoiler alert, the man who survives the end of this thing is wearing a shirt with all of their colors on it.
What? I don't think I
yeah, so
I didn't remember that.
So like they basically kind of told us who was gonna. Well, I guess that could have been who was gonna die, but I think they sort of were telling us who was gonna survive this whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well caught. I completely missed that.
Yeah. So I have a few other notes. Do you have any notes of things that just like stuck out to you that you really liked that we haven't discussed yet? Or things you didn't like?
Well, I guess I kind of liked the fact that I mean, yeah, this is just full of spoilers here.
Yeah.
But that Jonathan Groff's character, he's the one who hit his head. Mm-hmm. And it's almost as if he was like, they knocked sense into him.
Yeah.
And he had to be the one to tell his partner, I love you so much. This is all out of pure love. I need you to sacrifice my life for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And it was very, very, it was kind of touching. It wasn't kind of touching. It was touching. That
I agree.
And he's like, I can see the future. And it's as if he was part of the Four Horsemen. He knew that he's the one who had to sacrifice his life. He's like, I saw something.
Well, yeah, like they were, they were a tool to like give him make him part of this, or give him what he needed to be part, to basically talk him into doing the thing that needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and
Go ahead.
I thought so there were two notes that I made that were right at the pretty much the same scene. One was Mr. and Mrs. When they went to go adopt the girl.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting. I don't know why I noted that. I just thought that was just kind of an interesting thing, that they had to basically hide who they were. That was like so ingrained in, especially the Andrew. I think I keep saying Andrew. I hope it's Andrew. In his character, this idea that they're not accepted by his parents, they're not accepted by society, they're not accepted by the adoption agency, and it like really puts a chip, rightfully so, but puts a chip on his shoulder and like puts him in the wrong headspace to be able to accept what's going on.
Right.
So I thought the Mr. and Mrs. thing was interesting. But I also thought that when they saw this baby who had like essentially born with a defect, like his first response was like, she's a miracle.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was cool. And I wish that had a stronger connection to, or a more obvious connection to, how this whole thing shakes out. I guess like she's the reason that humanity was saved. So I guess in that sense, she's a miracle. But again, I feel like I wanted like some big like aha moment that I never really got. Nothing ever just like blew my mind in this movie, and I just kind of wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that it hadn't been real, and we had gotten an aha moment explaining what was really going on. Like that would have kind of blown my mind, but that's not what we got, unfortunately.
Yeah. There was a brief moment where I thought they were going to kill the daughter.
Oh yeah.
Because she was up in the tree.
Oh yeah.
In the tree house, and I was like, what are they going to do? Oh no. And then when Papa Eric, Jonathan Groff, when he basically offers his life, I was relieved. I was really relieved. I'm like, please don't kill off that sweet little baby girl.
I had that thought early in the film when they first like tied them up and told them what the deal was. I was like, what would happen if they just said, okay, we'll kill the girl?
Yeah.
Like what would the Horsemen have done? I guess just let it happen?
They would have to. Yeah. Because they didn't say that it was one of the two parents. They said it was one of the three of them had to die. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have thought they were going to. That thought did cross my mind. Like,
yeah.
What's the least likely thing to have happen, and could that work?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess I wish there was just more explanation about, and not so much exposition, but like, I feel like Rupert Grint died so soon.
Yeah, I was a little sad.
I was like, oh, that's it?
Oh, no, Ron.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there could have been things. I don't know if it was a desire to just keep the runtime down. I don't know if there's stuff that was cut out, that the studio made them cut out or whatever. But yeah, I would have liked a slightly deeper story. Like another 20 minutes probably wouldn't have hurt this film.
Yeah.
And maybe given us some I mean, I guess it depends on what the 20 minutes is dedicated to, right? But if it's
Right.
dedicated to like understanding why they care, like the weapons thing, I think is a really interesting observation. Like that would have been really interesting to find out why they had the things they had.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Rupert's character was there to be the red herring.
Yeah.
To make you second guess, like, oh, well, since they have a past, because, you know, he was the guy who caused.
But kill him second then, right?
Right.
Like, you know, if you want that red herring to be a thing, then kill him second.
Or have that confrontation while he's alive.
Yeah, have him realize that, oh, this is the guy
Mm-hmm.
while he's still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't fully understand why they did some of the things they did.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm glad I saw the movie. It was only an hour and 40 minutes long. I mean, 2 hours if you count the goddamn trailer.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did see the movie. I mean, are you feeling kind of the same way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen most M. Night Shyamalan movies. I think there's maybe 2 that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
There's always something interesting and something that makes you go,
Do you know which ones you haven't seen?
Whichever one came out before this one.
Old?
I haven't seen Old.
It's kind of like this one where it's like, you know exactly what the movie is. It's not all that interesting, but it's not a bad movie. It's just sadly average.
Okay. All right. And I don't think
Have you seen Wide
I
Awake?
have. No.
So Wide Awake's the earliest M. Night Shyamalan film that I know of. It's pre Sixth Sense.
Oh.
I believe. I think it's pre Sixth Sense. I could be wrong about that, but it's one where that people don't know that M. Night Shyamalan did this movie. It's Touchstone, so Disney. It's got like Rosie O'Donnell in it, although she's in a really small part, and Robert Loggia, and a young Joseph Cross who hasn't done a ton of other things. He grew up and did like Running with Scissors and a few other things. But,
oh yeah.
And it's about this kid in Catholic school whose grandfather, he's very close to his grandfather. His grandfather dies, and he doesn't understand, why people get taken, and so he goes on a quest to try to find God. And it's a very endearing and very sweet film, and it's surprisingly an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not seen that one either. Sixth Sense was my first introduction to M. Night Shyamalan. And I was one of the fools. I was like, I had no idea.
No, of course. I mean, anybody that tells me that they knew when they were watching it, I think I call bullshit. I don't think it's so cleverly disguised that and it was an era where we didn't have a lot of twist films. So like if it had come out after a whole bunch of other twist films, that would be one thing. But anybody that tells me that they knew ahead of time or like when they were watching it, bullshit. I'm never going to believe you. You can say whatever you want, but I'm just not going to believe you.
Yeah. And I feel like that movie was more thoughtful in how it told the story. I wish that this one had a little bit more thought put into it.
Yeah, I agree. Unbreakable's the same way, where there's a lot of thought put into it, and that's his follow-up to Sixth Sense. And I think like I don't know. I can't say I'm not Shyamalan. From an outside perspective, as somebody who's a fan, my perspective is, I feel like there was so much attention paid to M. Night Shyamalan's the twist guy, that's all he really had in him, and I think I wonder if he bought into that and felt that pressure and felt the need to have to do that. And like cater the films around a twist instead of letting the film happen. And if there was a twist, there was a twist. And if there wasn't, there wasn't.
Right.
And the the more he just like dug his heels into that, the worse the films got as time went on.
Mm.
The Happening's like the greatest example of that.
Right. Well, and I completely agree with you, because if you just tell the story, there will be a twist. Like, life in itself has twists.
Yeah.
That just come up and happen.
I agree. Do you want to know, you ready for maybe a mind-blowing thing? Maybe you already know this.
Okay.
The same year that The Sixth Sense came out, another film came out, did very well in the theaters, written by M. Night Shyamalan. This is 1999. You can try and guess if you want. I don't know how good your memory of films from 1999 are, but would you like to guess what this...
Another film that M. Night Shyamalan
wrote.
Did?
He wrote it. He didn't direct it, but he wrote it. Which, remember, he wrote Sixth Sense, which had just come out the same year.
I have no idea.
Stuart Little.
No.
Yeah. Written by
What? What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That, I was not even going in that direction. I'm like, no idea. I was trying to think of something...
Horror or thriller.
Yeah, or suspenseful.
Yeah, no.
Stuart Little?
Stuart Little. And I did look it up. The Wide Awake was the year before Sixth Sense.
Okay.
So.
Wow.
But yeah, Stuart Little.
So
there you go. Next time you watch Stuart Little, you're going to be looking for all those like hidden things. The color theory that he likes to use, like, you know, in Sixth Sense, he used red to mean things, right? So, same thing in Unbreakable. He used color theory a lot for that. Notably, Mr. Glass's clothes, all their clothes, but Mr. Glass especially.
Oh yeah. When I've done costume design for some short films, I always pull in color theory.
Oh, I love color
like,
theory.
okay, hey, about this character, what's their underlying whatever? And I'm like, how do you feel about this color with that? Because it's really fun to tell a story through not just the words coming out of the characters' mouths.
Well, I did that for, so I directed our friend Devin Dygert as a musician. He did a music video called Dope, and I directed that.
Yes.
And I used color theory very heavily in that. So much to the point that there is a little, like, there's actually a tell that I give to tell people to re-watch the video and look for the colors. And nobody has ever spotted it.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you saw it and caught it, you would think it was a mistake, but it was actually me telling people to go back and look.
Cool.
Yeah, so if you go back and watch
Go back
Dope,
and look.
people feel free to let me know what you think. What you think the little hint is.
Neat.
So, well, do you have any last things to add about Knock at the Cabin? I think I've kind of exhausted my thoughts on it.
Wow. I think that's it. I can't think of another thing to say about it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Not the best, description of a movie or like how one feels about a movie, but that's kind of what this is. I have high hopes for our next one in 2 weeks. I don't know if I should be saying what, because it's like not the next episode of the podcast, so I don't know if I should be saying what our next thing is. What do you think?
Let's keep it a surprise.
We'll keep it a surprise. All right.
Yes, it's going to be good.
Surprise for everyone. I'm very excited about it. So, so for the listeners, we'll be back next week. Pete and I will be back. And until then, bon cinema.